Welcome to Freelance Client Secrets Module 1 Video 3. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to bid on your first job. In this video, I'll go over tips for bidding on your first projects and steps you need to take to make sure you get the right clients and projects. The first thing you will want to do is create a list of keywords to search for. These keywords usually include your niche or specialties. An example is finance writer, finance blogger, financial writer, and financial blogger. These are some terms you might search for if that is your niche. Try out some search terms and see which ones pull up the most projects. If you aren't pulling up enough projects, then you might want to try a broader search term or try out different terms. Once you figure out which search terms are pulling up the projects you want, then you will be using these searches regularly. You can also click on categories and view the projects listed there. There are a few things you can do to make searching less time-consuming. First, filter out jobs you don't want by budget. You can also eliminate hourly jobs and categories that you can't bid in using the search options. On Elance, when you are looking at jobs, you can view a potential client's project history. You can click on the jobs they posted and see if they have a history of going for low-priced freelancers, or if they have a history of leaving bad feedback for other freelancers, or potentially look for any other warning signs. This can give you clues as to whether or not you want to even bid on that client's project. There are a lot of new clients with no history, so for those clients you might just have to take a chance and bid on their projects. You can always evaluate them further by interviewing them later if there is interest on their end. There are certain projects that I like to avoid, and here are some of them. Number 1 is poor communication in project description. If a client communicates poorly in their project description, then sometimes this might be an indication that the person is not going to communicate well during the project. So you have to decide if this is something you want to deal with. I found that sometimes it can be more difficult to communicate with clients who don't speak English as their primary language, although this isn't necessarily true for all offshore clients. Number 2 is vague project descriptions. I found that for the most part, people that write vague project descriptions aren't usually good prospects, although sometimes they can be. I'm talking about people that write 1 or 2 sentences and don't provide hardly any detail. Sometimes they will contact me and send more info, and I'll find that they're wanting too much for the budget they're offering, or wanting something totally different than what we do. Or sometimes if they don't put a little time into their project description, then they're not serious about getting the project done and just trying to see what will happen. Number 3 is clients with history of low payment. I usually don't bid on projects where the client has a history of paying low, because I'm targeting higher-end clients, so I don't want to waste my bid or time. Number 4 is rush jobs. I don't like to take urgent rush jobs because it adds extra pressure, and if I don't get it done in time, then I'll have an angry client to deal with. If I do take it, then I'll charge more and I'll be sure that it is something that I can get done in time. On the other hand, rush projects can be good too because the client is more likely to actually hire someone, and if you fix the client's problem, then you may become a hero to them and it might lead to more work. Number 5 is highly complex projects. I'm not crazy about highly complex projects because more complications can arise, and it is also harder to estimate the time required. This might actually be the only time I would consider hourly work. Number 6 is projects or clients that I just don't like. If in the initial interview I find that I don't like the client and project, then I don't take it. It's better to wait for projects that I do like because there are plenty of other projects out there. And finally, there's hourly work. I don't like to take hourly work because it limits my earnings. If I take a job for $25 an hour, for example, then I'll only make that much. With fixed price, if you are fast and good at managing your time and resources, then you can make more. Also, if someone sees an hourly rate on your profile or job history, then they might judge you by that. So if you do hourly work at a low rate, then corporate employers might think your work is low quality and not hire you. And if you do work at a high hourly rate, then certain clients might get scared away by that high rate. It's up to you if you want to do hourly work because with the time tracker, at least you are guaranteed your hourly rate, but personally I prefer fixed price. Here are some things I like to see with clients. Number 1, good client history, payment history, and feedback. Secondly, corporate clients are usually good too because they usually pay better than individuals. Sometimes they can get busy though, so that can be a downside, but it depends on the company. Third, I like people with reasonable expectations. Some people want you to do a lot of stuff for a limited budget, but some people are more understanding of the value of your time. So that's something you should try to get a feel for during the interview process. Number 4, clear project descriptions and communication are a big plus and can make a big difference with projects. And finally, good availability is also a nice thing to have. Some clients will be slower with communications though, and that might be something you will have to deal with and schedule around. So now I'm going to talk about how to bid on projects. When you start off and have no feedback, I recommend bidding lower to build up your feedback profile. But you don't have to bid ridiculously low. In fact, I don't think you will need to bid below the average bid for most projects. Some people will understand that you are new and hire you without regards to feedback, especially if you have an exceptional portfolio or good cover letter. You'll want to start by creating a cover letter that contains all the info that the client will want to see. This will include a quick sentence about what you do, links to your portfolio, specialties and strengths, and what you are offering to do for the client. Although you will use this template for applying to most jobs, you should also personalize the response. Include the client's name in the intro if provided, answer any questions that the client asks, and ask any questions for things that are not clear. Even if the description is clear, sometimes you can pick out something from their description and ask a question just to let them know that you read it. This is where a lot of people, especially offshore workers, screw up. They dump in their generic cover letter and don't even answer any of the client's questions. Here are a few other random tips. Most sites allow a free few bids, so use them before buying. This will also allow you to try out a few different freelancing sites if you want. For Elance, I recommend buying a starter package. This should give you enough bids to land your first project. Sometimes you can get your first project with the free bids, but sometimes it will require more bids. So here are some action steps for this video. Set up your account if you haven't already and start bidding. Be sure to look at client history and personalize your proposal at least a little so that they know that you read their description. So this concludes the Quick Start module, and if you want, you can actually go ahead and set up your profile and start bidding and trying to get your first job. In the next module, I'm going to go into my client and project screening system in more detail and explain how I screen through clients, bid on projects, and how I change the way I do things as time goes on and I build more feedback.